There is a door in Kentucky that has not undergone a full, independent, bar-by-bar audit in over 70 years due to immense logistical constraints. Behind 22 tons of steel and concrete, the U.S. government claims to hold 147 million ounces of gold. But rumors have circulated for decades that the vaults might not be what they seem. Some critics have claimed that during the Cold War, parts of the gold reserve may have been replaced with tungsten-cored bars, a theory that has never been independently verified. Today, we aren't just looking at the walls. We are breaking down the mechanical secrets of the bedrock vaults in Manhattan and the military fortress at Fort Knox to see exactly what is hidden 80 feet below the surface. You are about to see why unauthorized access to these vaults is practically impossible, and why the gold might actually be the least unique thing stored inside. From large quantities of emergency medical pain relief supplies to the original copies of the Bill of Rights, this is the internal reality of the Federal Gold Vault. By the end of this journey, you will know the secret of the 100-hour time lock and the truth behind the debate over the world's gold reserves. Most people think Fort Knox is the biggest gold pile on Earth, but the real heavy hitter is actually buried 80 feet beneath the sidewalk of 33 Liberty Street in Manhattan. This is the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. It holds roughly 5% of all the gold ever mined in human history, about 7,000 tons of glittering bars. But here's the catch. Almost none of it belongs to the United States. This vault acts as a high-security clearinghouse for 36 foreign central banks. The New York Fed doesn't own the gold. They are simply the guardians. The entrance to the Manhattan Vault is a masterpiece of engineering. There are no traditional hinges. Instead, you enter through a 90-ton steel cylinder set within a 140-ton frame. To close it, the cylinder rotates 90 degrees, creating a seal that is both airtight and watertight. Once those steel rods slide into place, the vault is locked until the next business day. Not even the president of the bank can bypass the timer. Inside, the gold is separated into 122 numbered compartments, so the wealth of different nations is never mixed. And here's something most people don't know. The Fed considers these bars non-fungible. If a country deposits a specific bar with a specific serial number, they are guaranteed to get that exact same bar back. If a nation wants to pay another nation, they don't even have to ship the gold across the ocean. They simply pay a handling fee and a crew moves the gold from one numbered room to another. But while New York handles the world's gold, Fort Knox is the national stronghold. Built in 1936, the United States Bullion Depository was a direct response to the Great Depression and the rising threat of global conflict. The government needed to move the nation's wealth away from vulnerable coastal cities. They chose Kentucky because its natural terrain makes it a formidable inland location that is difficult for any outside force to reach. The move to Fort Knox was one of the largest transfers of physical wealth in history. The gold was shipped via the U.S. Mail Railroad because, at the time, the Postal Service was the only agency capable of ensuring a risk that high. Soldiers armed with military-grade weapons met the trains, using decoy transports to ensure the shipment arrived safely. But gold isn't the only treasure protected by these granite walls. In 1941, as threats reached the East Coast, the most precious documents in American history were moved to Kentucky for safekeeping. The original Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and the Bill of Rights were all sealed in the vault. Because the facility wasn't climate-controlled, these documents were locked in bronze containers that had been heated for 6 hours to drive off all moisture, then encased in mineral wool and lead-sealed wooden crates. Alongside the birth of the nation was its survival. During the Cold War, the military stockpiled large quantities of emergency medical pain relief supplies at Fort Knox. The concern was that a global conflict would sever supply lines, leaving the country without critical medical resources. To this day, these strategic reserves are said to remain protected alongside the nation's bullion.
The events of the past week have raised serious questions which we intend to answer fully.
Despite the layers of security, a shadow of doubt has persisted for years. In the 1970s, a former financial advisor publicly alleged that powerful financial interests had drained the vaults, claims the U.S. Treasury has repeatedly denied. This sparked the Tungsten Theory. Because tungsten has a density nearly identical to gold, it is theoretically the only material that could be used to create a counterfeit bar that weighs the same as the real thing. The U.S. Treasury insists the gold is safe, but they also admit that a full bar-by-bar audit of the entire inventory would be a massive undertaking. potentially requiring 400 people working for half a year. Because audits typically only verify a small percentage of the bars, some skeptics remain unsatisfied. The reality is that the global economy depends on confidence. If the vault were ever proven empty, it would severely damage global confidence in the US financial system. So, is it actually possible to break in? While movies make it look like a high-flying heist is possible, the reality is far more difficult. Even with multiple layers of modern security, the vault's design makes unauthorized access practically impossible. You aren't just fighting guards, you're fighting time. The main door is protected by a 100-hour time lock. Even if the codes were compromised, the door physically cannot open until the timer expires. Any attempt to breach the facility would have to hold out for 4 full days while military units from the adjacent army base responded. No group has that kind of endurance. In an age of digital assets and invisible bank transfers, the Federal Gold Vault reminds us that true wealth is heavy, physical, and locked behind 22 tons of steel. Whether the vaults are full or the legends are just that, the reputation of their security is what keeps the system standing. The Gold Vault is just the beginning of the world's most protected places. If you want to see the other top-secret facility where the government used to hide the world's most critical biological assets, keep an eye out for our next video. And if you're serious about understanding the world's most secure locations, join our community by hitting subscribe. We explore a new fortress every single week. Thanks for watching.